Welcome to another edition of Straight Talk with Don Chioffi. I am Don Chioffi, and this day's program is going to be quite a special one for me. And if I get a little too emotional and shed a tear, be sure that you note that on your own private camera so that you'll have that documented forever. You know, we watch the television every day of the week and we see a tremendous amount of upheaval in this country. We see wars all over the world, and they become background noise, I guess you'd call it, in our lives as we go about our normal lives. And it's pretty hard to put that in perspective. We all have the unique opportunity today to listen to a person who has lived a war, who has lived and is living a gorgeous life that didn't happen by accident, but happens to be a very, very fortunate thing, not only for her, but in this case for all of us. And I'm proud and pleased to be able to introduce you today to a resident of my town who happens to have just gotten back from her home country of Germany, where she celebrated her 85th birthday. Her name is Marlene Knapp, formerly Marlene Schussler. And it's a pleasure for me to welcome her today to tell her story, which I hope we can finish in a half an hour, but we may not be able to do that. And I certainly hope that you enjoy and are educated by what you hear. Marlene,
yes.
Welcome to the program, my dear.
You.
It's a pleasure
My
to have you here.
too.
And I'm just going to let you open up by telling us where you started and tell us your story.
Okay. I was born in a village located right next to Kassel. That's a large city in Hesse, some people say. And it had, in the 1940s, 225,000 population. And after the war, there were only 50,000 left. The Allied forces had a great interest to bomb this city because it had an industry that was producing locomotives. But during the war, they switched to heavy tanks, and that wasn't a good thing. So on October 23, I think they actually bombed two nights, the 23rd, the 22nd, and the 23rd. But they bombed Kassel mercilessly. It burned, they said, I read somewhere that 7 days later it was still burning. And they destroyed, of course, the heavy tank industry. So, but unfortunately, our village next door got also some bombs. One happened, first I have to say, we were so trained to run to the bunkers whenever we had attacks from the Allied forces. They used to love bombing during the night as well. So the sirens would go off and we'd run to the bunker, which was like, if you walked fast, maybe like 12, 15 minutes. But this night, the sirens went off and right away the bombing started. So there was no way to run to the bunker. We decided to stay in the basement. We went in the basement and we heard the bombs falling, the house vibrating. And so it was my 7-year-old brother, my mother. My father was in the war. We didn't know where he was, Russia or Poland. We never heard anything. He could have been dead. He could have been alive. We didn't know. So, and in addition to mom and brother, there was our grandpa from the father's side. And all of a sudden, the house, a bomb fell between us and the neighbor behind us, but closer to the neighbor behind us because their house was totally wiped off the foundation. There was just the foundation left, no house. We don't know where the pieces went. Our house, during that, while the bomb fell, what it did is it lifted up a little bit, sat down, lifted up again, and then came down. Not the entire house, but the back got blown out, and the roof, and the stable, with the 2 pigs ready for slaughter in 3 weeks, and the 2 goats, they all were dead. And the chickens and the rabbits, they were all gone. So we are now in the basement and realized that something bad had happened. And the back of the house, there was all this rubble. You couldn't even get out. So we kind of shoveled ourselves out of the house. And when we stood in the little backyard, we saw it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and the sky was filled with red and yellow color, and it was so light you could see each other. It was like daytime, but then that was later on explained to me that was the fire over Kassel that lit up the whole sky. And we just were so lucky that we got away, didn't lose our lives. And well, we couldn't live in the house anymore. We moved to a next door village about 12 kilometers from our village. We had a nice aunt there with her family. She took us in. And later on, of course, our house got rebuilt. The government gave us a Russian prisoner and a Polish prisoner. They helped us and other people to rebuild our house.
Do you mind if I show a picture of your house
yeah,
here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do that. This is Marlene's home.
Yeah, it
right
was a
here
duplex.
in the middle.
We had
the roof is like totally gone, and this would be interesting for people to make a comparison. You were actually considered the enemy.
Yes.
Of the Allies.
Of course.
Just being a German citizen.
Yes, of course.
And that's unfortunate. I think that would be comparable to the Palestinians who are living in Gaza
exactly.
now, who are just innocent civilians.
Yes.
And yet you were considered enemy, well, you were just unfortunate casualties.
Yes,
and,
exactly. But I would like to tell you about a horrible experience that I will never forget while we lived at our aunt's. My mother decided to gather some beech nuts and went with my brother, who was 7 at the time, and I was like going on 3.5. We went into the woods, and it was late fall, so all the leaves were down from the trees. And as we were looking around, we see a small fighter plane, barely skimming the tops of the trees, and he could see us because there were no leaves on the trees. And he had a machine gun, and I still see his face to this day. He had a brown, tight leather cap on, down on the side, and I saw the machine gun. He was so close, it was unbelievable. So my mother she knew right away he was going to kill us. So there was like an indentation in the ground. She threw my brother and myself in there, covered us up with leaves, and covered herself with leaves. And wouldn't you know, a minute later, he was back, looking, getting mad, not seeing us. So he flew by, turned around, came back again, looking. Really, you could see the frustration in his face. And he did it 3 times trying to find us, and then he finally left, probably to look for farmers in the field that were plowing with their horse. In the fall you got to plow, probably shooting them with their animals.
So your mother basically said to this nice British pilot who was going to kill you, "Leave me alone."
Yes, leave me alone. The leaves saved our life. If there hadn't been leaves, he would have seen us,
Talk about fate.
Yeah, so we had enough of beech nut gathering. We just went home. And one of the scariest moments in my life, I have to say. But the other scary moment was when in 1943, in October 23, I think it was, when the city, I didn't say this already, did I?
No.
Got bombed heavily. It was an Allied, the Allied forces decided to really bomb Kassel to smithers because it had an industry, like I said already, that was producing locomotives but switched to heavy tanks. And so they bombed it something awfully, and that's the night when a bomb fell behind us and the neighbor behind us, but closer to the neighbor where it got wiped off the foundation. And so when we felt, I didn't say this already, that the house vibrated, or did I?
Yes, you did.
Okay,
Yeah,
then
you
I'm
told
not
us
going to
about that.
repeat
I was
this.
wondering,
So-
did you move back into the house? Was what happened to
Much
the?
later, when it was rebuilt.
Tell us the story of that when you rebuilt and when you came back and.
Well, while our father was gone, we just had our grandpa. And my mother would walk every day from Holzhausen, a small village, 12 kilometers from our village. She would walk every day to the house and help, be there when the people, we got the Russian and the Polish guy, they were prisoners, they were assigned to us, and maybe she had a couple other people. She would walk 24 kilometers every day and spend the day there, They rebuilt, and eventually we were able, I don't know how long it took, I was 3 years old, I don't know, but eventually we were able to move back into our house. And
the Polish guy, they appreciated the food, huh?
They were sent back to their home countries, the one to Poland, the other to Russia. And my mother said they cried when they left. And I said, Mom, why did they cry? She said, because when they were working for us, they got the same food that we ate. They weren't starving. And when they had to go home, they were horrified by what they would find, whether their family was still there or just, all what the war took away. So there were so many tragedies, and I guess people just kind of got used to the tragedy. You had to get used to it, otherwise you just would have fainted away.
Tell me a little more about the house later on in your life when you get a chance to move back into your home.
So, we moved back into the home, and when I was about 11 years old, we built a new brick house. The next street over, we had a lot, a good-sized lot. That's where we always grew our vegetables and everything. And so we built a new house there, and we still have it today. My nephew inherited it with his sister. So, and I inherited the little attached apartment. So I always have a place to go. So does my daughter, who lives mostly in Germany. And so what was I going? Okay, the old house, when my parents were like maybe 80 years old, I said to them, you never have enough money. Let's sell it. It's my inheritance. I don't need the money. And so I said, once we sell it, I take that money, I invest it, and every month I'm going to send you the interest. You will have, for the first time in our life, enough money. So I did exactly that. A neighbor bought it. And until they died, my mother died at 84, and my father died at 90, they got that monthly check for the rest of their lives. In the end, the dollar had so devalued, the Deutschmark or so, from the money that I originally got for the house, might have been like in dollars 62 or something like that. It was only worth 25. I didn't care. I didn't need the money, and I knew that my parents had a good old life and didn't have you know, worries about having not enough money. So I feel very good about that.
So you were their Social Security fund.
So what else can we talk about here?
Well, let's talk about some of the American servicemen that you met in the bar.
This is great. The Americans were occupying Germany at that time, and now and then a lot of trucks would travel on the main road to wherever they had to go. Sometimes there were like 30 of them, and sometimes a truck would break down. And that, when I noticed that, I'd run up to the street, and then they'd say, especially this one time, the driver of the truck invited me to climb up to him. So I climbed up in his truck, he set me on his lap, and he was stroking my hair and my cheek and just holding me dearly. And I figured he must have had a little girl like me, and I reminded him of his little girl. And then after a while, he said, "Give me your apron," and he put all kinds of candy and chocolates, filled up my apron, and then said, "Now you can go home." And I went home. Oh, I felt like a queen. I had all these candy, all these goodies, chocolate that I'd never had in my life, you know, because the war started already. I mean, when I was a baby, I couldn't have chocolate, and later on, when I could have had chocolate, there was no chocolate. But now I had chocolate from the Americans. And it was just such a great experience. I truly loved the Americans. Wherever I got in contact with them, I loved the Americans because they were so good to us. And I ended up actually marrying a first lieutenant of the American Army. And I came to the America in, how did I go? In 1960, right.
Well, tell us how you met him.
Oh, yeah. The Germans in the big city next door in Kassel, they had a jazz club. It was in the basement of a restaurant. You had to go down steps, and then they played the tapes from jazz. You were sitting on empty beer barrels and little tables with a Chianti bottle and a candle that would drip down, and it was like really cozy. And so my brother, who was 7 years older, he invited me a couple times to go with him, and I enjoyed it, meeting other people. And one evening, wouldn't you know, there were 3 American officers there. And I was fluent in English because I had 6 years in school. I had 4 years of Latin and 2 years of French. And in a little attached apartment of our new house, we used to rent to Americans so I could practice my English. And so that's how I met my husband, and we fell in love. And it was funny. My brother had an Italian motorbike. They called it Lambretta. When we went home, I had come on the Lambretta with my brother, but when we went home, my new American friend took me in his beautiful, big American car. I used to call them ships because they were so big. I think it was pink and white. And he followed my brother on the Lambretta all the way to my home. And from then on, we would meet regularly. He took me to the club, at the officers' club in Rothweston, which was another town nearby, where there used to be a German base, and now the Americans had taken it over. And we got engaged a few months later, and a few months later, when he went back to America, I followed, and we got married in 1960 I believe it was May. Yeah, and we've been married for 60 years. We had one daughter, Renee, and unfortunately, my husband passed almost 5 years ago. And I miss him very much. I'll always miss him. He was a wonderful, hardworking person, honest. He would have never stolen or cheated anybody. He just was a great human being, and I was lucky to have a man like that for most of my life. So
I think with the with the trials and tribulations that you went through in the war, that you were very fortunate to have found him, or him to have found you. And you certainly deserve the reward that you got for survival.
Yes.
I mean, it's not an easy thing. Let me say it differently. It is an easy thing for we as Americans to look back at that war. Most of us, I was born in '44, so I just have faint memories as a child of what the remains of it. But we have no idea until we hear from somebody like you
Yeah.
as to what it was like there,
Yeah.
what it was like to survive that war, and what it was like to be a German citizen, just a plain, ordinary German citizen on, I guess you would call it, almost like on a farm property, really.
Yeah.
It's quite revealing to learn, and I guess it's an educational kind of a thing for me, being an educator myself. To hear this is quite a story.
We
really.
produced our own food, you know.
Right,
We
right.
killed 2 pigs a year, processed them, the butcher would
Tell
come.
us about the lamb.
Oh, the lamb, okay.
What was the lamb's name?
My mother wanted wool to knit us sweaters. So we had an aunt in Westphalia, which was under the British, you know, whatever you call it. We were under the Americans, they were under the British. And so she had a little baby sheep, and my mother said, go and get it. And, you know, it'll get big, and I get the wool, and maybe later on even milk, so I can make butter. So my father went and brought her back in a suitcase, and she never made a tone because it wasn't really allowed to bring anything over from Westphalia to Hesha. And when they opened the suitcase at home and that little baby sheep came out, it was unbelievable for me how I loved her right away. She became my pet. Like usually, everything becomes my pet, even to this day. Cats, dogs, sheep, you name it. So her name was Lottie. I named her that name, and she would always be by my side, you know, if she wasn't in her stable at night. And my duty was to graze her during the day, fresh grass, and I would take her out in the fields because our house was right next where the fields started, farmers' fields, and there was a path where the farmers drove their vehicles, and on the side would be fresh grass, and we would, you know, I would let her graze, and she could even go without a leash. She just stayed by foot. And sometimes I was bored, and a girlfriend would come with me, and we just sketch like a scotch, what's it called?
Hopscotch.
Hopscotch, right. And we'd jump around in it. Then the sheep would come and jump too. And then when we would go home, she would bleat. And my mother would say, what did she do? She's still hungry. I said, well, she wanted to do hopscotch with us too. That sheep was something else. And
What happened to the sheep?
so, since my mother wanted to get milk, she had to have a baby. So they took her to a male sheep, did the thing, you know, and she got pregnant. But she had a miscarriage. And the veterinary came and said to my parents, she will never be pregnant again, and so you won't never get milk from her. And guess what they did? They didn't want to feed an animal where they didn't get something back, you know. With pigs, you feed them and you kill them, and then you process the meat. With her, they wanted the milk. And the wool, of course, too, because my mother had a spinning wheel, and she could spin the wool and knit us sweaters. So they sent me to my aunt in Holzhausen, 12 kilometers from our village. And after 1 week, I came back. The first thing I did is I dashed to her stable. It was empty. So I went inside. I said, Mom and Pop, where's Lottie? And they were very like sheepish, like, well, you know, she could never have a baby again, and we're not getting any milk. We had to slaughter her. You don't know what that did to me. It was awful. It was just awful. It took me years to get over that. That's how I loved that Jeep. And I got the fur, you know, with the leather underneath and the fur on top, but it was the original. It was too long. It was a little bit dirty. There was little bugs in it. And I would sleep on it at night. And finally, I started to smell like a sheep in school, and I realized I couldn't do that anymore. So I begged my parents, have it professionally prepared. And they sent it away, and it was cut short. The wool was bleached. There was no bugs, little dead bugs in there anymore, and the leather was soft. And from then on, I had I could put it on the floor, you know, in front of the couch or wherever. And I lost that fur, though, when one time we lived in Manassas, Virginia, and I had stored it up in the attic for a short while. And when I went up in the winter time to get it down, I realized that the heat up there made the leather hard, that I couldn't use it anymore.
And that was the end of that.
Yeah, that was the end. I had to dispose of it. But Lottie took up a big part of my life. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You see, time flies when you're having a good time.
Yeah.
And
I have, when I
has
look
been
back
one.
at my life, I had a really good life. I regret nothing what I did. I would say that I made 95% all good decisions. That's how I feel about my life. I made good decisions.
Well, I want to thank you very much for sharing that life with us and sharing it with all of our listeners. And I certainly hope that many get to view this particular program, and I encourage you to do that. It's very rare, first of all, that you get anyone that has such a vivid memory of those times long ago. And I like to think that in our generation of 80, 85 years, we're still
strong and living,
strong,
enjoying life.
not only strong here, but strong here
Yeah.
as well, to be able to recall that. And you have some severe memories, but you have some very, very inspiring memories.
Yes.
Of how to survive and how people do survive even the greatest of disasters. So as we look at what's happening in our country right now with the floods and the situation that's going on with recovery from those floods, and
Talking about floods, I can tell you something. The bunker
Very
that
quickly.
we had to run to, like 12, 15 minutes, they dug very deep down in the ground. I don't know how many stairs there were. My mother had to carry me down all the time. At the bottom were benches where we kids would sit. But the unfortunate thing was there was always groundwater rising. Sometimes it got so high that I had to pull my feet up on the bench or I would have gotten wet feet. And there were these courageous women. They were up the stairs, like every other stair. They had buckets. They would scoop the water, bring it up, woman to woman to woman, till the very top and pour it out. The empty bucket would go down again, and they would do this all night.
you know what we call
If the
that?
bomb would have fallen there, they would have been wiped out.
You know what they call that today?
What?
The bucket brigade.
Yeah, the bucket brigade. But that took courage, you know.
Look at that. We can't stop. We probably could go on for another day,
I
day
could
and
tell
a half. But again, this has been another edition of Straight Talk, and a very memorable one for me, and I hope for you. And thank you very much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
It's been such a pleasure to meet you and to listen to your words.
Yeah, my pleasure too.
Thank you, folks. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.